All right, Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Shema Shaku Malaki Washai. It is to say Yahweh, being named the Heavenly Father, who the world will call God, and Yahweh Shai, being named his only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. This brother Kasadia from W5 Jersey, Philly. And we going through tonight through the Spirit is the 40 martyrs of Sebaste, right? The 40 martyrs, if you don't know, it's 40 of our forefathers, right? Around I believe 262 BC or AD, who had who gave up their lives for the Lord, right? And suffered different temptations, right? And ultimately were martyrs, of course. Right. And to be a martyr meaning they laid down their life for the Lord. I'm actually look up this word martyr for you so you can see just how important it is to be a martyr, right? Everyone isn't a martyr. There are certain men who draw back. There are certain men who can't endure that different temptation that may befall them, right? There are certain men who just aren't willing to suffer, right? Whether for the Lord, right? Or just suffer in general. And I'm actually pull this up, trying to share my screen, Salakia, right? Let me pull this up, right? So I looked at the definition for martyr. It says one who chooses to suffer death rather than renounce religious principles, right? So we have forefathers who chose death. It's a lot of accounts of our forefathers and even foremothers who rather suffer death than renounce their so-called quote unquote religious principles, meaning beliefs, right? Religious goes back to the word religio, which means discipline and order. So our forefathers, they would rather suffer death than to renounce the laws and the orders that's set up by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And you got to be in that same mindset as well. Most are willing, right? Following this lesson through the Spirit, it exhorts you and it promotes you in your mind to get ready for the different trials and tribulations that the Most High has set before us in these last days, right? Who can tell? I don't know. I may be a martyr. You may be a martyr. I may be in a wilderness somewhere, and Yahweh Shai, Most High willing, beams me up, right? And you may be that one individual that has to suffer this martyrdom, that has to go through it like Peter went through, that has to go through it like Paul, right? Like James, like these 40 martyrs we're about to go into right now. It says, one who makes great sacrifices. It is a great sacrifice to lay down your life for the Lord. I'm going to get a quick precept. Just the book of Psalm, chapter 115. Slakia. I believe I want Psalm 116 and verse 15. Right? Psalm chapter 116 and verse number 15. It says, precious in the sight of Yahweh is the death of his saints. So it's a precious thing in the sight of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai to die for him. That's not a light thing. To be a martyr, meaning you sacrifice your life. You put down your life to serve Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Even unto death. The Lord said, fight for the truth unto death, and I shall fight for you, paraphrasing. I'm going to actually get that. I don't want to misquote it. Right? Fundamental precept. Should not misquote. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 4 and verse 28. It says, strive for the truth unto death, and Yahweh shall fight for thee. So you got to strive for the truth even unto death. If you don't have to die, all praises. If you do have to die, all praises. At the end of the day, you got to magnify Yahweh Shai in his body, whether by life or by death. Like I tell you in Philippians chapter 1 and verse 20. It says, one who makes great sacrifices or suffers much in order to further a belief. Sometimes the Lord has men, they have to lay down our life for the quote unquote cause, right? And our cause that we're laying our life for is to magnify the Most High God, is to magnify his son, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. That's our cause. It says to further a belief, a cause, or principle. What's the principle? right? What's the chief thing? To serve Yahweh with Yahweh Shai, right? To come back to the Heavenly Father, to renounce corruption and evil and sin, right? To put that away from you, right? It says one who endures great suffering. So, like we mentioned, Slakia, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Like we mentioned, we want to go into it through the Spirit and have a call to remembrance. Maybe you never heard about the 40 martyrs. Maybe you have, but we had it on the old Cold Cuts channel. We definitely gonna go into it right now, right? So, like we mentioned, there was 40 martyrs. I'm gonna share my screen again, actually. Right, 40 of our forefathers who, like we just went into, they laid down our life for the Lord. Now, this is not those men right here. It wasn't these Edomites right here. Name the last time an Edomite died for the Lord because they believed in the Most High. They can't do that. But of course, Esau is going to whitewash this image. It's called iconoclasm. It's happened during the Renaissance era, as we know, right? So we don't have to just try to take this image out of your mind. I got a better image for you, right? Got a better image for you. Right? And we know it's Jake. We know this. But just so you can see this, this is still one of the ancient depictions. Salaki. It's one of the ancient depictions that we was able to find through the Spirit. Right? So these are dark-skinned men. It's your forefathers. Hey, like I said, this might have been you. This might have been you, brother. Right? So, I mean, we see, these are 40 men, and we're going to go into the account because it's mighty. They wasn't just out here just naked, just with their shirts all off, just holding their pants up. That's not what happened. Right? We're about to go into it right now. So let's go back to this article. All right. So this is the 40 martyrs of Sebaste. Now, this happened in March of 320 AD. Right? I misspoke earlier. Certain scholars say different timelines, but it's around 320 AD. Now it says the 40 martyrs of Sebaste, which is in modern day Turkey, were soldiers in a Roman 12th legion called Fulminata, right? Fulminata, right? Which means the lightning or thundering legion. It says some believe that the legion was given that name by Marcus Aurelius after he experienced the miraculous rain event in 169 AD, right? It says CE, right? Continuing on. It says, according to the Saint Basil's homily on the 40 martyrs delivered 50 years after their martyrdom. It says, these holy martyrs suffered at Sebaste in the Lesser Armenia under the Emperor Licinius, right, in 320. So you can look this up. It says they were of different countries, but enrolled in the same troop. It says word of the Thundering Legion, so famous under Marcus Aurelius, and Salaki for these names. As you can tell, I'm Hebrew, right? Let's go back. So continuing on, it says, for the miraculous rain and victory obtained by their prayers. It says on orders of the Emperor Licinius for all to sacrifice to the emperor. So it's essentially, as we see in time past, right? You got these heathen, they always want us to get down and obey their laws and their order. They wanted us to sacrifice to their emperor. The same thing happened in Daniel. Let's go to the book of Daniel real quick. This is Daniel chapter 3 and verse 18. This is Daniel chapter 3. I'll start at 17. And it reads, it says, if it be so, our God, Slaki, I'm gonna start at verse 14. It says, Nebuchadnezzar spake and said unto them, is it true, O Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Do not ye serve my gods, nor worship the golden image which I have set up? Now, if ye be ready, that at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if ye worship not, ye shall be cast the same hour into the midst of a burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? So they wanted our forefathers to go and sacrifice and bow down and worship to Nebuchadnezzar and his gods. Now, as we know, they didn't do so, right? And they were delivered into the fiery furnace, but the Most High delivered them, right? He had an angel keep watch over them and protect them and brought them out of that fire. Now, we're about to read about 40 of our forefathers who had to go through this ice cold water, right? It was led away in exile. Let's read on. So it says, these 40 went bold up to their commander Lysias and said they were Christians. Now, it's not Christians in modern day Christianity, but Christians as in followers of Hamashiach. So in ancient, they would have called them Hamashians, right? Those that follow Hamashiach. It says, in that no torments should make them ever abandon their holy religion. Said, look, I don't give a damn about what's going on with me. I don't care what y'all put us through. Look, nothing is going to stop us from serving the Most High God. And that's the mindset that we got to be in. It's a lot that we got to deal with and bear being in His truth, right? Being, still in this damn, not in the world, not of the world, but in the world. If you got ears to hear. Meaning you gotta take care of responsibilities that we have, whether we have children, maybe we have a wife, maybe you have a job, you might have your own spot, so you need to have a job, so on and so forth. There's different things you got to deal with. There's a lot of sicknesses going on in this earth, so you may have to deal with that as well. Maybe you run a congregation, maybe you're a leader or officer or evangelist. You understand? There's different offices and administrations that you may have to deal with, but at the end of the day, none of that and the different stresses that you may have to take on should cause you to ever abandon serving Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? And Lord willing, if you were walking in that way, then through the Spirit, Lord willing, we can pull you back and get you to follow this thin and narrow path. So continuing on, it says the governor, finding them all resolute, caused them to be torn with whips and their sides to be rent with iron hooks. Iron hooks. It says the governor, highly offended at their courage and that liberty of speech with which they accosted him. And we have a liberty of speech right now. Let alone do we have a liberty of speech because we serve Yahweh Hashem Yahushai, right? If you believe in the Lord, you're going to continue to speak freely the things the Most High has given you. We're going to teach about this Bible. Now, in America, you even have a so-called freedom of speech. So liberty means freedom. So even in America, we have a quote-unquote, this is according to the U.S. Constitution, that you have a freedom of speech. And remember, this is over in Turkey. So continuing on, it says, devised, meaning he devised an extraordinary kind of death, right? Which, being slow and severe, he hoped would shake their constancy. Now, meaning what? He wanted to shake their mind up. He said, I'll say this real quick. Esau, they think about different ways to get us. They meditate on that. There's a show called 1,000 Ways to Die. Who the hell thinks about 1,000 ways to die? They have different, there's YouTube videos, YouTube channels that's dedicated to going back into ancient times, like Kings and Generals. There's another channel I used to watch. The name is escaping me right now, but Kings and Generals is one of the ones. And there's different channels as well that goes into the different ways that men of old found ways to torture and kill their enemies. So first off, being whipped and your sides being torn with iron hooks, that seems gruesome. But he wanted a more gruesome way, a more extraordinary kind of death, like it says, which being slow and severe, he hoped would shake their consonant. Meaning what? Well, we're going to see. It says the cold in Armenia is very sharp, especially in March and toward the end of winter, right? It says there was also at that time a severe frost. Under the wall of the town stood a pond that was frozen so hard that it would bear, that it would, it's like it, yeah, that it would bear walking upon with safety. Meaning you had to walk really, how to say it? Pretty much you had to walk, like you just said, safely. Meaning walk with caution. That's the word I was looking for. You got to be more cautious when you're walking on that ice. If you fall through the ice, then now you you in the middle of the water that's beneath the ice. You'll probably die instantly, damn near, freeze to death, hypothermia. It says the judge ordered the saints to be exposed quite naked on the ice, and that's why you see them like this, right? Like I said, it wasn't just out there just to be out there. Nobody wants to be out there right now. It's cold as hell. It's like, and I'm over here on the East Coast. It's like 19 degrees outside. It probably feels like 5 degrees. Let me actually look it up real quick. Yes, it's 19 degrees right now. And it says it feels like 10 degrees. Now I know certain brothers, they live in the Midwest, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis. I'm sure it gets crazy out there. It was cold when we took that trip in December to be there with our brothers, our beloved brothers over in Chicago. It was cold. We was driving out there, got outside. I had my coat. I think I had my coat. Maybe I left my coat, but either way, it was cold. And that was just in December. Imagine the end of the wintertime, like it's saying right now, over in this cold Armenia, Turkey, in March. It says, and in order to tempt them the more powerfully to renounce their faith, a warm bath was prepared at a small distance from the frozen pond for any of this company to go to who were disposed to purchase their temporal ease and safety on that condition. So what does that mean? Meaning Esau wanted them to sell out. Let's get a quick precept. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 12. Esau wants us to sell out right now. They don't want me to make this live stream at 1:25 a.m. Why would they? Why would we teach to exhort our people to continue on in the faith? They would much rather me do God knows what at 1 a.m. At 1 a.m. right now, they will rather you watch some lewd sites and be just scrolling and in a daze and worrying about sports and worrying about all the different things of this world and not keep your attention on Yahweh Shem Yahshua and not to exhort your people to continue on in the faith. But guess what? We're going to continue on in the faith. And we definitely going to be on this live stream, Lord willing. And we're going to continue on keeping on. So let's bring this out in Proverbs chapter 12 and verse number 26. It says, the righteous is more excellent than his neighbor, but the way of the wicked seduceth them. The Lord said that the righteous man, he's more excellent than his neighbor, right? Meaning what? Those that's keeping the commandments, they're more righteous than those that's not keeping the commandments, right? You understand? Because you're keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what the Lord said. But the way of the wicked seduceth them. They want to seduce you. Here you got these 40 men who's defying the system, so to speak, because they want to serve the Most High. And now they're being tempted, let alone are they being naked in the cold on the ice. But they also, now they're tempting them to have a warm bath. It's prepared a small distance away, so they can leave and sell out. You might be in front of a guillotine and they like, look, listen, we got this McDonald's right here. See, a lot of times you got these brothers, they get in them rooms. They called what the hell is they called? Damn, interrogation rooms. And they in there and they asking, well, what you know, you got Esau, the so-called detectives. They're talking to Jake and they're like, look, what happened to that Tyrone? What'd he do? And Jake like, man, I don't know nothing about no Tyrone. I don't know. And he's like, well, okay, we got you. Then they kind of look at that window where you only can see in one side, the one-sided mirror or glass, and they say, bring it in. Now the damn Edomite, he's walking in. He has freshly from McDonald's or Popeyes or KFC, wherever Jake like to eat at. All that food is garbage anyway, but they bring that food and they put that Popeyes chicken right in front of that brother's face. And they have a cup of Pepsi right in front of him with the straw. And they didn't even have to have the straw. They already ripped the plastic off the straw and put the straw inside the cup for the brother. And they say, look, this is all yours. Just tell us what happened to Tyrone. What was he doing? Where was he at? And Jake did the scratching his head. And he said, look, man, listen. And then they just start just bringing it all out. Now they bringing it all out and they get to eat the food. Maybe they got the McDonald's and they got the barbecue sauce. They dip the fries in the barbecue sauce or the chicken nugget, whatever they eating. That's how this right here was set up. It was presented to these men who didn't want to sell out. Said, look, if you just sell out, we got a warm bath for you. You don't got to be out there in the ice cold. You don't got to be out there in the ice with a shirt off. Look, come get warm. We got a warm bath. They probably had food out there for them as well. Let's see what these 40 men did. Did they all say, look, we're going to actually, you're right. The Most High understands. Be not righteous over much, Ak. Did they say that to each other? Be not righteous over much? Or did they stay 10 toes down with the Lord? We're going to read about it, right? But just put that in the back of your mind. Now let's continue on. It says the martyrs, actually I want another precept, right? Because it said we're disposed to purchase their temporal ease and safety on that condition. I want another precept. Let's go to 2 Maccabees chapter 6. Right? 2 Maccabees chapter 6. And I'm going to start at verse. I'll start at 18. 2 Maccabees chapter 6 and verse number 18. It says Eleazar, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance, was constrained to open his mouth and to eat swine's flesh. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live That's Satan. But he, choosing rather to die gloriously than to live stained with such an abomination, spit it forth and came of his own accord to the torment, as it behooved them to come, that are resolute to stand out against such things as are not lawful for love of life to be tasted. So the point of the matter is, he chose not to eat the swine. I didn't go into the whole account, and I won't right now, but most I will, and you can on your own time. 2 Maccabees, the 6th and 7th chapter, goes into the different acts that our forefathers had to go through during the time of the abomination of desolation, which was set up between 161 BC up until 164 BC by King Antiochus Epiphanes IV, right? A wicked man who brought great evil upon the nation of Israel under the Greek captivity. Let's continue on. It says, but they that had the charge of that wicked feast, for the old acquaintance they had with the man, taking him aside, but sought him to bring flesh of his own provision, such as was lawful for him to use, and make as if he did eat of the flesh taken from the sacrifice commanded by the king. So they said, look, why don't you bring your own lamb or beef or whatever you want to eat? Maybe you want some goat. Just act like that's the pork, and just act like you ate the pork so that others can see you, given that you're a man of renown, and they all also can eat this pork as well. That's the equivalent of them making a small bath so that they can be disposed to purchase, meaning to get them, to beguile them, to get their temporal ease and safety on that condition, trying to lure them away, trying to seduce them. They try to seduce Eleazar. They try to seduce these 40 martyrs. They're going to try to seduce you. Let's read on. It says, verse 22, that in so doing, he might be delivered from death, and for the old friendship with them find favor. But he began to consider discreetly, and as became his age, and the excellency of his ancient years, and the honor of his gray head, whereunto he was come, and his most honest education from a child. In that time, you got to remember your most honest education as a child, as a babe in his truth. The Lord said in Isaiah chapter 33 and verse 6, that wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times and strength of thy salvation. So in that time when you've been led up, whether to a guillotine, maybe they might have you out there on the ice and they put you in exile. Then they're saying, look, if you turn back and you denounce Yahweh Shem El Shai and you give up where the rest of your brothers are at, tell us where they're at. And we'll bring you into this warm. We got a blanket for you. We got a Snuggie. We got some damn hot coffee. Look, whatever you need, we got you. We got this bag of money right here. They might even say we got this Bitcoin. Look, just come back, sell out, and we got you. In that time, you got to remember your education. What's your education? It is Holy Bible, right? What the Lord has given us, the instruction, the ways, the holy law, statutes, and commandments. Continuing on, it says, or rather the holy law made and given by Yahweh. Therefore, he answered accordingly, Slakia, and willed them straight ways to send him to the grave. He said, man, send me to the grave. I don't know what we playing games for. Get this over with. See ye to it. He commanded them straight ways to send him to the grave. Is that the mindset that you're in? Do you want Esau to send you to the grave? Or do you want to live out your final moments in the final seconds of Babylon before it goes down? You got to be in that to die for the Lord. I mean, these men, they were ready. It wasn't just a random spare of the moment thing. You understand? As we read over here, I'm gonna go back to it. Before they was even led away, it says these 40 went bold up to their commander Lysias and said they were Christians and that no torments should make them ever abandon their holy religion. So they already had their mind on that. Let's get a quick precept. This is the book of Proverbs, right? Chapter 24. It's like I want Proverbs 23 and verse 7. Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 7. It says, for as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, said he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. The point of the matter is, the Lord said, as you think in your heart, that's who you are. So if your mind is on dying for the Lord, then what do you think is going to happen? In that time, in that moment, you was already been strengthened to be with the Lord. Your mind can't be on anything else right now. If it's time for you to go, you got to go. If it's time for you to be out there in the wilderness for a few seasons, it is what it is. But you don't have another time to think about these things. Right now was the time. So you're going to see, we continue to go into these videos like this, right? The persecution, martyrdom, the fifth seal, Jacob's trouble. Why? Because that's the time we're about to enter into. You can't prepare for a time you're already in. Then it's not preparing. Prepare meaning to do something beforehand. That's where that word, that prefix, pre, P-R-E, it means something before. You understand? So you got to think about these things. You got to think about death and dying for the Lord and being with the Lord and the torments that may come across. You got to do those things right now. You got to think about those things right now. You understand? So let's continue on. Let's I forgot where we was at. Slacky. Oh, he's down here. So it says, the martyrs, on hearing their sentence, ran joyfully to the place. Man. It says the martyrs, on hearing their sentence, ran joyfully to the place, and without waiting to be stripped, undressed themselves, encouraging one another in the same manner as is usual among soldiers and military expeditions. Let's get a precept. Man. Let's go to Acts real quick. Right? I want to get this first. This is the book of Acts, chapter 5. And I'm going to start at verse 40. It says, and to him they agreed, and when they had called the apostles and beaten them, they commanded that they should not speak in the name of Yahushua, and let them go. And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. And daily in the temple and in every house, they ceased not to teach and preach Yahushua Mashiach. So our forefathers, they were in a spirit of joy. When you go through this tribulation, you got to be in joy. It may not seem joyous in that moment, but that's the mind of our forefathers. Were these men off to be in joy because they were being led away to be delivered up? No, that's a righteous thing. That's a mighty thing. If the Lord put it on you to have to go through this, are you going to be like, why, Lord? Why do I have to go through this? Why that brother don't got to go through this? How about that sister? Why she get to be with, her family? Why I got to go through this? No, you got to be like, all praise Yahweh Shem Yahshai. All praises that the Lord is finding you worthy of all the evil you've done to be one of the ones that died for him. Right? Let's go to Acts chapter 14, verse 22. This is the book of Acts chapter 14 and verse 22. It says, confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them, right? And exhorting them to continue in the faith, and that we must, through much tribulation, enter into the kingdom of Yahweh. So the Lord said you got to exhort the souls of the disciples. That's what they did right here. It says they ran joyfully to the place and without waiting to be stripped. They undressed themselves. Said, man, let's get this over with. Look, we ready to die for the Lord. It says, encouraging one another in the same manner as is usual among soldiers and military expeditions. Because remember, the Lord said you a good soldier. And you got to endure hardness for Mashiach's sake. Let's go to that real quick. I mean, everything we can kind of break it as we're doing right now to the spirit. But you can see these precepts, man. And these precepts, they got to be in your mind. Lord willing, they're in my mind in that day. Most High willing, they're in your mind in that day as well. Right? And it's the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 2. And I'm going to go to verse 2. It says, and the things that thou hast heard of me among many witnesses, the same commit thou to faithful men who also, who shall be able to teach others also. Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahushua Mashiach. No man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of his life, that he may please him who had chosen him to be a soldier. So you gotta please the Most High and his son Yahushua. How do you do that? By not entangling yourself in this world. You make the Lord angry when you continue to entangle yourself in this world. If they was entangled in this world, then they wouldn't have ran so joyfully to get ready to then be let out there in the cold, in the freezing cold, in a crack of the night. You understand? So continuing on, it says, attended with hardships and dangers, saying that one bad night will purchase them a happy eternity. That's that optimistic mindset. Being in this truth, you got to be optimistic. You can't be pessimistic, right? You got to look at the good. You may be going through some things right now, but at the end of the tunnel, brother, if you continue on, then you got a crown. And we're going to read it. We're going to read on. It says, the guards in the meantime cease not to persuade them to sacrifice. Of the whole of the number, only one had the misfortune to be overcome. So out of all 40 of them, one of them sold out. One of them went back. And he was overcome. Meaning what? He went back. It says a sentinel was warming himself near the bath. While he was attending, he had a vision, meaning one of these sentinels, meaning is one of the guards. So although there's 40 men, one of them went back. And then you had a guard that was supposed to be keeping watch of them. It says a sentinel was warming himself near the bath. While he was attending, he had a vision of blessed spirits, meaning holy angels, and Yahushua, descending from heaven on the martyrs. The guard being struck with the celestial vision, meaning heavenly. So that word celestial goes to heavenly. The celestial vision and the apostate's desertion was converted. So after seeing his vision, and Lord willing, this account goes through this vision. Because if it doesn't, then I'll go to another account of it. But so like, let me see real quick. I might have to find another one. Right? Oh no, it's gonna go into it. It's gonna go into it. I believe it's gonna go into it, Lord willing. Right? But if not, like I said, we're gonna go into it. Continuing on. So it says the guard being struck with the celestial vision in the apostate's desertion was converted, threw off his clothes, and placed himself in his stead among the 39 martyrs. So once he saw that vision, then that vision was Yahushua crowning each one of those men. For them dying for the Lord, they each was crowned. So that brother, he saw that vision. The Lord gave him that vision, and he replaced that one man that went back. Right? And it happens all the time. The Lord always replaces a brother. The Lord takes a brother, brings a brother in this truth. The brother goes off, or the Lord doesn't want to use him, and he used them to what he wanted to use him for. He sends him on his way, and he brings another brother in this truth. Happens every single day. It says, in the morning, the judge ordered both those that were dead with the cold and those that were still alive to be laid on carriages and cast into a fire. Their bodies were burned and their ashes thrown into the river, but the Christians secretly carried off or purchased part of them with money, meaning they try to get their bodies. Now it says the deaths of the 40 martyrs have attracted veneration and artistic representation from the time of their martyrdoms unto the present day. These very young men, only one was married, and their icy deaths was the last famous mass martyrdom of the Christians. Right? Because around 304, you had a man named St. George. They tried to kill St. George about damn near 20 times. Try to kill St. George about 20 times. Try to bury him alive. They try to burn him alive. Try to boil him. Try to saw his arms, and he stayed with the Lord until it was his time to actually be, put to death. It says 40 naked, pale. Now it says pale. 40 naked, pale, shivering, stoic young men crowned together are painted on a wooden icon from the 4th century in the Musée des Beaux Arts in Paris. Now, like I said, thought they was going to go into it. I might have to find another article. Right, bear with me while I find this better article, right, of it, because we do want that. right? I want to go into that vision and that dream that they actually had. Damn, let me find this real quick. Bear with me 1 second. Let me find this dream. I believe this might be it. Okay, yeah, this is good. All right, let's check this out. Let's check this out. So it says, man, yeah, let's go right here. All right, so this is a better article. This is EWTN.com. Right, so you can check this out. I believe this is actually a Catholic drum. A Catholic, yeah, it's from the, yeah. Anyway, so let's continue on with this. We're just going to pick up pretty much where we left off at. So it says, under the walls of the town stood a pond which was frozen so hard that it would bear walking upon safely. All right, just like we read already. I'm gonna jump down. It says the martyrs, on hearing their sentence, ran joyfully to the place, and without waiting to be stripped, undressed themselves, encouraging one another in the same manner as is usual among soldiers in military expeditions, attended with hardships and dangers, saying that one bad night would purchase them a happy eternity. They also made this their joint prayer. Now, let me zoom in, right? So this is their prayer that they had. It says, Lord, we are 40 who are engaged in this battle. It's like, yeah, I'm bugging. It says, engaged in this combat. It says, grant that we may be 40 crowned and that not one be wanting to this sacred number. And we know 40 actually is, one of the numbers that the Lord uses in the Bible. You had Moses fasting 40 days, 40 nights. Yahushua fasted 40 days and 40 nights. You understand? 40 is a quote unquote sacred number, right? A holy number, right? So let's continue on. It says the guards in the meantime cease not to persuade them to sacrifice, that by so doing they might be allowed to pass to the warm bath. But though it is not easy to form a just idea of the bitter pain they must have undergone, of the whole number, only one had the misfortune to be overcome. Don't be that one. Don't be that one. It's always one, whether in a congregation, whether in a household, whatever. That just always tends to go astray. Don't be that one. Everybody going right, and this is the one brother that want to go left. Right? Every sister is looking this way, and it's the one sister that want to look this way. She want to be different. Don't be that one. That one is, at the end of the day, we're one nation of people. So why would we have those that's walking amongst us that wants to be the one that looks to the other way? No, the Lord gonna get rid of that person. It's not in one common goal. We're supposed to be doing this for Yahweh Shem Yoshai. So you got this one, he went back. It's always one that goes back. Continuing on. It says, who, losing courage, went all from the pond to seek the relief and readiness for such as were disposed to renounce their faith. But as the devil usually deceives his adorers, the apostate no sooner entered the warm water, but he expired. What does it mean he expired? The Lord killed him. Don't let the devil deceive you. Let me get this quick precept. Right? Let me get this quick precept. I believe I want this in right. Let me get this real quick. All right, give me 1 second. Let me find this precept. All right. I'll get this instead. Oh no, I found it. Right. This is the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 5, and I'm gonna get verse 15. 1 Timothy 5 and 15. For some are already turned aside after Satan. So there's something that's going to turn aside after Satan. Satan, he has those, it's like he has those that he can deceive because they were set up from the beginning of the world to be deceived, to be those that fall away, right? At the end of the day, everything's already mapped out. All you can do is continue to pray and hope and keep your faith in the Most High that you stay on that path, that right path, and not to turn aside, not to fall away, not to go back into the world, right? It says, this misfortune afflicted the martyrs, but they were quickly comforted by seeing his place and their number miraculously filled up. Because remember, they threw up a prayer that all 40 could stay. And that's heavy right there. They threw up a prayer. It says, Lord, we are 40 who are engaged in this combat. Grant that we may be 40 crowned and that not one be wanting to this sacred number. Imagine you throw up this prayer. You believe in Yahweh Shem Yoshai. You throwing up this prayer and you see one brother immediately after that, he just leaves. They ain't like, oh man. You can't be like, they can't be like, oh man, look, I guess the Lord's not dealing with us. Then you got to keep that hope in the Lord. This was a test. Remember, did not the Lord say you're going to enter the hour of temptation? This was their hour, and you can see how they faced it, right? They kept their faith with the Lord. Although it seemed, look, Satan tried to deceive their mind and get their faith to waver. But you're going to see they stayed with the Lord. Now, let me get this precept. This Revelation chapter 2, and I'm going to get verse 10. It says, fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So you got to stay with the Lord even unto death. This is the book of Revelation chapter. And if you stay with the Lord unto death, the Most High says he's going to give you a crown of life. And we're going to see that. This is Revelation chapter 3 and verse 10. It says, because thou hast kept the word of my patience, I will also keep thee from the hour of temptation, which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth. So the Lord said, you got to hold it down, right? There's temptation that's going to take part of the whole earth. Meaning everybody got to deal with it. Verse 11. It says, behold, I come quickly, hold that fast which thou hast, that no man take thy crown. So you can't let nobody take your crown. Not Satan. Not your brother that's in his truth. Not your woman. Sisters, you can't let your husband take you out of this thing. Can't let your children sift you out of this thing. Children, you can't let your parents sift you out of this thing. Nobody can sift, no one should be able to sift you out if you believe in the Most High. There are certain brothers that just go back and they try to blame a brother. Well, hold on, brother. That's between you and the Most High. That evidently means you didn't believe in the Most High, but you put your faith and your confidence in man, which overthrew you. Now, continuing on. It says, this misfortune afflicted the martyrs. This is going to afflict you. Affliction is only for a season. But they were quickly comforted by seeing his place and their number miraculously filled up. A sentinel was warming himself near the bath, having been posted there to observe if any of the martyrs were inclined to submit. It says, while he was attending, he had a vision of blessed spirits descending from heaven on the martyrs. Now, is this going to go into it? Lord willing, it does, right? Descending on the martyrs and distributing, as from their king, rich presents in precious garments. So he's seen angels, and it says, as from their king, meaning Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai was distributing, it says, rich presents and precious garments. This is written in Second Ezra, the second chapter. We're gonna go into it, Lord willing, but I'm gonna continue this out. It says Saint Ephraim, meaning Ephraim, right? Saint Ephraim. It says adds crowns to all these generous soldiers. It says one only accepted, who was their faint-hearted companion already mentioned, right? So, well, actually, I don't know who the hell they're trying to say this is right here. Unless they meant to say Ephraim, don't know. But nonetheless, this is our king is not Saint Ephraim, right? It's Yahweh Shai. Yahweh Shai. You understand? So continuing on, it says the guard, being struck with the celestial vision and the apostate's desertion, was converted upon it, and by a particular motion of the Holy Spirit, drew off his clothes and placed himself in his stead among the 39 martyrs. Thus Yahweh heard their requests, though in another manner than they imagined. It says, quote unquote, which ought to make us adorn the impenetrable secrets of his mercy and justice, says Saint Ephraim. Right, so that was one of the brothers. Right, but continuing on, it says in this instance, no less than the reprobation, it's like a reprobation of Judas and the election of Saint Mattathias. Now continuing on, it says in the morning the judge ordered both those that were dead with the cold and those that were still alive to be led on carriages and cast into the fire. And we read this, right? But I'm gonna continue on. It says when the rest were thrown into a wagon to be carried to the pile, the youngest of them, whom the acts call Melito, was found alive. And the executioners, hoping he would change his resolution, when he came to himself, left him behind. His mother, a woman of mean condition and a widow, but rich in faith and worthy to have a son, a martyr, observing this false compassion, reproached the executioners. And when she came up to her son, whom she found quite frozen, not able to stir, and scarce breathing, he looked on her with languishing eyes. I mean, it's a rough thing. You dying of hypothermia. You out there in the freezing cold and you looking at your mother. Hey, man, this gets real heavy. Remember the first time I read this, I shed a tear. It's a heavy, heavy thing that's going on right now. You got to be in his mindset to be willing to die for the Lord. You have to be. You can't be that one brother that went back. It says, and made a little sign with his weak hand to comfort her. She exhorted him to persevere to the end, and fortified by the Holy Spirit, took him up and put him with her own hands into the wagon with the rest of the martyrs, not only without shedding a tear, but with a countenance full of joy, saying courageously, go, go, son, proceed to the end of this happy journey with thy companions, that thou mayest not be the last of them that shall present themselves before Yahweh. Let's get a precept. Right? Let's get a precept. Just the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 7, and I'll start at verse. If you haven't read 2 Maccabees, go back and read 2 Maccabees, chapter 7, right? So this 2 Maccabees, chapter 7, and I'll start at verse 25. It says, I'll start at 24, right? I'll start at 20, right? Verse 20. And it reads, but the mother was marvelous above all and worthy of honorable memory. For when she saw her 7 sons slain within the space of one day, she bare it with a good courage because of the hope that she had in the Lord. Yes, she exhorted every one of them in her own language, meaning Hebrew, filled with courageous spirits and stirring up her womanish thoughts with a with a manly stomach. She said unto them, I cannot tell how ye came into my womb, for I neither gave you breath nor life, neither was it I that formed the members of every one of you, but doubtless the creator of the world, who formed the generation of man and found out the beginning of all things, will also of his own mercy give you breath and life again, as you now regard not your own selves for his law's sake. Now Antiochus, thinking himself despised, and that's mighty. I'll say that right now. It's gonna come a time, sisters, where you may have children and it may be rough. Right? I have a child. It may be rough, but you gotta go through it, right? Because it's bigger than your child, it's bigger than you. This is for Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. If it comes that time where they grab up your child and they say, look, either you denounce the Lord or we're going to dash your child in pieces right now. You got to stay 10 toes down with Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Your only thought should be, hey, man, look, the Lord, he's gonna resurrect us. The Lord said, fear not them. Actually, let's get it. Let's not talk about it. Right, let's get this real quick. Like I said, it may be rough, right? But it is what it is. This is the book of St. Matthew, chapter 10, and I want to get verse 28. It says, and fear not them which kill the body, but are not able to kill the soul, but rather fear him which is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. So you want to stay with the Lord. You can't be worrying about if they try to do something to your child or they torturing you. You got to go through it. And you got to remember these precepts to exhort you and encourage you in that day, lest you forget and you die to deaths. You got to go through it. You got this mighty foremother right here who, and I'm going to go back to it. She encouraged her son. We reading right now, the mother of the 7 sons, she encouraged her children. Every one of them. Every one of them. All of them. She didn't say, nah, it's too much, Lord. Why they got to go through this? Lord, take me, let them live. And nah. She knew her time would come and it had to be their time too. Now let's continue on. In 2 Maccabees chapter 7. 2 Maccabees chapter 7 and 24. It says, now Antiochus thinking himself despised and suspecting it to be a reproachful speech, while the youngest was yet alive, did not only exhort him by words, but also assured him with oaths that he would make him both a rich and a happy man, if he would turn from the laws of his fathers, and that also he would take him for his friend and trust him with affairs. That's trying to get him to sell out. So look, we'll give you this chain, we'll give you this jewelry, we'll give you this coat. Got this woman for you, got all this money for you. I got a house for you. I'll set you up as the king's friend. You'll be good. And they gave him that damn LeBron James treatment. LeBron he has $1 billion contract with Nike. It's a lifetime deal with Nike. All he got to do is keep that oath. Don't turn back. Stay 10 toes down with the white man, and you got whatever you want. There's pictures of damn LeBron kissing Amalek's hands, Jewish men's hands. They got LeBron by the finger, just literally grabbing him by the finger and pulling him every which way. And he just in there with a black and white suit on. LeBron, damn shame. You got these other men. They sign these contracts with these rap labels who's all owned by so-called Jewish executives. Right? These owners of these NFL teams and these basketball teams, all chiefly Amalek. Because that's how it is. The Lord said they're the first of the nations, meaning they're the chiefest. Let alone were they the first ones that attack us coming out of the wilderness or coming out of Egypt, but they are the chiefest of the nations right now. Right? So continuing on, verse 25. But when a young man would in no case hearken unto him, the king called his mother and exhorted her that she would counsel the young man to save his life. And they may do that, right? You may be a sister that's in this truth. You may be a little bit older in age, and you may have a son who's maybe a little bit, maybe middle, maybe he's a teenager, maybe just entering his 20s. Now, they may try to get you to get your son to sell out. They may try to get you to sell out to get your son to sell out. That's what the Lord said, train up a child in the way he shall go. If you're weak, your son might be weak. Your daughter might be weak. Continuing on. And when he had exhorted her with many words, she promised him that she would counsel her son. She said, oh, I got you. I know exactly what words to give him. Now let's see. Did she sell out? Did our righteous foremother sell out? Right? What was the word she gave her son? Let's see. Verse 27. But she, bowing herself toward him, laughing the cruel tyrant to scorn, spake in her country language on this manner. And that's why, it's wise that you learn that Hebrew. I'm not the most fluent brother with Hebrew, not by a long shot, but it may be certain things you can say in that day. You understand? To a brother or sister that may be in a line of the guillotines with you, maybe saying certain words. Maybe you just saying Kwam Yasharala is going to be encouraging to that said brother or sister, or your wife, or your child, or literally a family member that's in the truth, right? So she started speaking. It's in code. It's in code because he doesn't know this Hebrew language. If he did, she wouldn't have did that, right? But she did so to exhort her son in another language. All the while, you got Esau thinking that she's about to go and sell out. Let's read on. This is mighty. It says, laughing the cruel tyrant to scorn, spake in her country language on this manner. O my son, have pity upon me that bare thee 9 months in my womb, and gave thee suck 3 years, and nourished thee, and brought thee up unto this age, and endured the troubles of education. I beseech thee, my son, look upon the heaven and the earth, and all that is therein, and consider that Yahweh made them of things that were not, and so was mankind made likewise. Fear not this tormentor, but being worthy of thy brethren, take thy death, that I may receive thee again in mercy with thy brethren. While she was yet speaking these words, the young man said, whom wait ye for? I will not obey the king's commandment, but I will obey the commandment of the law that was given unto our fathers by Moses. And thou that hast been the author of all mischief against the Hebrews shall not escape the hands of Yahweh. For we suffer because of our sins, and though the living Yahweh be angry with us a little while for a chastening and correction, yet shall he be at one again with his servants. But thou, O godless man, and of all other most wicked, be not lifted up without a cause, nor puffed up with certain hopes, lifting up thy hand against the servants of Yahweh. For thou hast not yet escaped the judgment of the Almighty, Yahweh, who seeth all things. Right, so it ain't went out. They continued on. So as a woman, right, if you're watching this video, you gotta exhort those. You gotta be in that right mindset as well. And brothers, you gotta continue to exhort your women. Or maybe you have a sister that's in this truth, right? So on and so forth. Or maybe your mother's in this truth. You gotta continue to be there to exhort, and we gotta continue to exhort one another so that we can enter into the kingdom of Yahweh Shai. So let's go back to this. It says, His mother, a woman of mean condition, and a widow, but rich in faith, and worthy to have a son, a martyr, observing his false compassion, reproached the executioners. Slaki. And when she came up to her son, whom she found quite frozen, not able to stir, and scarce breathing, he looked on her with languishing eyes and made a little sign with his weak hand to comfort her. She exhorted him to persevere to the end, and fortified by the Holy Spirit, took him up. So she grabbed her son up and put him with her own hands into the wagon with the rest of the martyrs. She said, look, you're not going out like this. You're not going to go out like this. So she grabbed up her son and put him in the damn wagon. So you better keep on going. It says, not only without shedding a tear, right? So she ain't shed a tear. She stirred up her manly stomach, a manly stomach. It says, but with a countenance full of joy, saying courageously, go, go, son, proceed to the end of this happy journey with thy companions, that thou mayest not be the last of them that shall present themselves before Yahweh. Nothing can be more inflamed or more pathetic than a discourse which Saint Ephraim puts into her mouth, by which he expresses her contempt of life and all earthly things, and her ardent love and desire of eternal life. Now I wanted to precept, right? Bear with me real quick. Let me go back to this second Maccabees. Right? This is second Maccabees chapter 7. And where is that at? Right? Second Maccabees chapter 7 and verse 13. Now, when this man was dead also, they tormented and mingled the fourth in like manner. So when he was ready to die, he said thus, it is good being put to death by men to look for hope from Yahweh to be raised up again by him. As for thee, thou shalt have no resurrection to life. So our forefathers understood that there's going to be a resurrection to life. And that's the hope you got to have. You got to have hope that you're going to be redeemed again because you died for the Lord. It says, let's continue on. It says, this holy father earnestly entreats her to conjure this whole troop of martyrs to join in imploring the divine mercy in favor of his sinful soul. Their bodies were burned and their ashes thrown into the river, but the Christians secretly carried off or purchased part of them with money. Some of these precious relics were kept in Caesarea, and Saint Basil says of them, like bulwarks, they are our protection against the inroads of enemies. He adds that everyone implored their succor and that they raised up those that had fallen, strengthened the weak, and invigorated the fervor of the saints. So this is the strengthening up your mind. This is the strengthening up your mind to be ready to die. Let's jump down. It says one of these was a miraculous cure wrought on a lame soldier, the truth of which he attests from his own knowledge, both of the fact and the person who published it everywhere. He adds, I buried the bodies of my parents by the relics of these holy martyrs, that in their resurrection they may rise with the encouragers of their faith. For I know they have great power with Yahweh it says, for I know they have great power with Yahweh. Right? We're Yasha'Allah. He prints with Yahweh. Right? We have power with the Most High God. Right? The Lord said, and with men, and has prevailed. In Genesis chapter 32, in verse 28 on down. It says, of which I have seen clear proofs and undoubted testimonies. So it goes on, and I don't want to read this whole thing. I really wanted to get the 40 martyrs. But you can see that it could definitely stir up your mind. Most High willing it did, to be in that mindset of the days that come. We're living in the last days. We talk about it all the time. And the time is coming very soon on the earth where indeed you may have to die for Yahweh Yahushua. Right? Somebody asked when you signed up for the military. Yeah, that's right. Meli Malek. It says, when you sign up for the military, you accept that you might die. It's kind of that simple. You can do that for Esau's military. You got to do that for Yahweh Yahushua, like the brother's talking about. That is a brother, right? But I want to get this closing precept, right? This is the book of 2nd Ezra. Right, that's right. Don Israel says, I guess he meant to say, knowing the Father or our Father's prayer in the Paleo Hebrew may help you on a daily basis in those days. That's right. That's right. Quoting it, right? Or even if you know it directly, right? Whether you know it and definitely I would say you should learn it in the Paleo Hebrew, but if you know it in the English, it should still work in your benefit as well, right? But let me get this real quick. In the book of 2nd Ezra. This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 2, and I'm going to start at verse 35. Yeah, 35. It says, be ready to the reward, 2nd Ezra chapter 2 and verse 35. Be ready to the reward of the kingdom, for the everlasting light shall shine upon you forevermore. Flee the shadow of this world. Receive the joyfulness of your glory. I testify my Savior openly. Oh, receive the gift that is given you, and be glad, giving thanks unto him that had called you to the heavenly kingdom. Slakia. To the heavenly kingdom. It says, arise up and stand. Behold, the number of those that be sealed in the feast of Yahweh, which are departed from the shadow of the world, and have received glorious garments of the Lord. Take thy number, O Zion, and shut up those of thine that are clothed in white, which have fulfilled the law of the Lord. The number of thy children whom thou longest for is fulfilled. Beseech the power of Yahweh that thy people, which have been called from the beginning, may be hallowed. I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people, whom I could not number. And they all praise Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai with songs. And in the midst of them, there was a young man of a high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. So I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, and have confessed the name of Yahweh. Now are they crowned and received psalms or palms. Then said I unto the angel, What young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, It is a son of Yahweh, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of Yahweh. Then the angel said unto me, Go thy way and tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders of Yahweh thy God thou hast seen. So most high willing, you was edified, and most high willing, you're part of that number that's crowned and that's sealed in these last days. With that, of course, we want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by Hashem Mashak Umlak Yoshai. To Brother Kasadia, keep watching these last days. Kwame Sharala, Shalom.